You've probably watched Matilda and thought, yeah, I know this one. Sweet little girl with magic powers, horrible parents, a terrifying headmistress, a happy ending. But behind that beloved film is a production full of stories nobody talks about. The boy in the chocolate cake scene secretly hated chocolate, and they filmed 144 angles of him eating it anyway. Pam Ferris was injured so badly during one stunt she needed stitches, and Mara Wilson, the girl playing Matilda, was quietly going through something heartbreaking that the entire cast was working to shield her from. Today we're counting down 15 insane facts about Matilda you never knew, and by the time we get to number 1, you'll never watch this film the same way again. But before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. It's the best way to support the channel. Let's get into it.
Agnes!
Number 15. Roald Dahl had been burned before. The 1971 Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory had strayed so far from his vision that he publicly disowned it. Then the witches came in 1990, and the ending was changed against his wishes. By the time Hollywood came knocking about Matilda, Dahl had died, but his widow, Felicity Dahl, known as Lixie, was standing guard over his entire legacy. She was not in a hurry to say yes. When screenwriter Robin Swicord wanted the rights, Lixie refused to even look at a script she hadn't approved first. She had already rejected Danny DeVito's initial draft entirely. Swicord's solution was extraordinary. She offered to write the whole screenplay for free, gambling months of her professional life on a project she had no guarantee of getting. Lixie read it, approved it, and the film went ahead. The movie that became a beloved classic existed entirely because one writer was willing to work for nothing just to make it happen. Number 14. Most directors are happy doing one job. Danny DeVito showed up to Matilda doing 4 simultaneously. He directed the film, produced it, starred in it as Harry Wormwood, and recorded the entire narration that gives the movie its distinctive storytelling voice. The narration wasn't in the original script. DeVito added it himself as a deliberate stylistic choice, giving the film the feel of a fairy tale being read aloud. What makes this remarkable is how seamlessly it works. You'd expect that level of multitasking to crack under pressure. On a film with a large child cast, complex practical effects, and tight budget constraints, DeVito was making creative decisions across every department while also appearing in front of the camera. Mara Wilson later said that his presence on set was the reason the entire production felt like a family rather than a job. He was everywhere, and somehow it showed in the best possible way.
It's a snake! One of you tried to poison me.
Number 13. The call sheet for the Bruce Bogtrotter chocolate cake scene had an infinity symbol written where the start and end times were supposed to go. Nobody could agree on how long it was going to take. The answer turned out to be roughly 3 weeks. Jimmy Cars, the 12-year-old who played Bruce, had to wear the same costume every single day and sit on set for the full shooting day, scene after scene, angle after angle. The cinematographer later confirmed they captured around 144 different angles of that cake being eaten. Here is the twist that makes the whole story genuinely painful. Jimmy Cars hated chocolate cake. He tolerated it at best. The production kept a spit bucket on standby because Cars would chew, wait for cut to be called, and spit everything out the moment the camera stopped rolling. DeVito later described the shooting as really gross, but admitted it produced exactly the right expression on the kid's face, genuine suffering. Cars went on to become a doctor. He has said, with complete sincerity, that he has not eaten chocolate cakes. Number 12. Playing Miss Trunchbull was not a comfortable job. Pam Ferris spent hours in the makeup chair each morning having a full face cast applied, the eye bags were made from gelatin, the jawline was prosthetically widened, and the entire transformation took long enough that it ate significantly into each shooting day before a single scene was filmed. But the makeup was the least of her problems. During the scene where Trunchbull swings Amanda by her pigtails, a harness had to be rigged through the child actress's braids and looped around Ferris's fingertips to give her grip. As she built up speed, the centrifugal force became too great and tore the top of Ferris's finger open, requiring 7 to 8 stitches before filming could continue. It was one of several injuries she sustained across the production. The girl being swung also had a safe word. If she felt dizzy or scared, all she had to do was yell out one phrase, "jelly beans." Number 11. DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger have been friends for years, having made Twins and Last Action Hero together. DeVito thought it would be a genuinely funny joke to put Schwarzenegger in Matilda as one of the FBI agents surveilling the Wormwood house. Schwarzenegger was on board. The scheduling just didn't cooperate. He was deep in production on Eraser and could not resolve the conflict. The cameo would have been brief but completely surreal. Imagine the cut to a surveillance van, and there is Arnold Schwarzenegger, somehow fitting into the world of a children's fantasy film about a little girl with telekinetic powers. It remains one of the more interesting casting roads not taken in 90s family cinema. DeVito has mentioned it in interviews with the resigned fondness of someone who knows exactly how good a joke they missed. Number 10. Before Pam Ferris was cast as Agatha Trunchbull, British actress Miriam Margolyes came in and auditioned for the role. Margolyes later confirmed this in a filmed interview for a UK television special celebrating Roald Dahl's 90th birthday. She did not get the part. Pam Ferris was the eventual choice, and the role became one of the most memorable villain performances in 90s family cinema. The Dahl connection didn't end there for Margolyes. The same year Matilda was released 1996, she appeared as Aunt Sponge in James and the Giant Peach, another Dahl adaptation. She eventually joined the Harry Potter franchise as Professor Sprout. Ferris, who beat her to the Trunchbull role, also went on to appear in Harry Potter and The Prisoner of Azkaban. Playing Aunt Marge, the relative Harry accidentally inflates into a balloon. Two actresses who both almost played the same character ended up in the same franchise years later, on opposite sides of the story.
You're supposed to eat the spinach. Ooh. Ew, 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 ew.
Number 9. DeVito had originally been introduced to the story of Matilda through his own daughters, who were devoted fans of the book. When casting began, his children were also big fans of Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen from Full House, and DeVito seriously considered the twins for the lead role. The thinking was that having two actresses split the physical demands of the role could work logistically, and the Olsen twins had an enormous built-in fan base that would follow them into a theatrical film. The role ultimately went to Mara Wilson, who had already worked with DeVito and Perlman on a smaller scale and had an emotional depth on camera that felt right for the specific journey Matilda goes through. 6 younger children were also cast to play Matilda at various ages. In the film's early sequences, newborn, 9 months, 2 years, 4 years old, each played by a different child actor. By the time Wilson takes over as the 6-year-old Matilda, the character already has a full history behind her that the audience has watched build.
Magnus. I used to call him King Magnus. He called me Bumblebee.
Number 8. In one of the film's most quietly emotional scenes, Matilda and Miss Honey are inside Trunchbull's house and come across a portrait of Miss Honey's late father, Magnus. The painting is hanging on the wall as a reminder of what Trunchbull took from her. Most viewers see it as a set decoration detail and move on. What it actually is runs much deeper. The portrait is a photograph of Roald Dahl himself, taken during his time as a Royal Air Force fighter pilot in World War II. Dahl had died in 1990, 6 years before the film released, and the production quietly placed him inside his own story as a tribute. He is literally present in the film he wrote, watching over the characters he created, in a scene about grief, injustice, and the things people leave behind. Once you know who you're looking at, the scene becomes something else entirely. Number 7. The scene where chalk writes by itself on Miss Honey's classroom blackboard looks like a simple visual effect. The reality of how they achieved it was considerably more inventive and considerably more awkward. A magnet was attached to the end of the chalk on the front side of the board. A crew member then had to stand directly behind the board, completely hidden, holding a second magnet and write the words in mirror image, backwards, in real time, to make the chalk move on the other side. DeVito confirmed this in interviews, and the impracticality of the setup is exactly what makes it impressive. There was no CGI involved. Every letter, every word, every stroke of that chalk was being produced by a person standing behind a blackboard, writing the whole thing in reverse while staying completely invisible to the camera. It required multiple takes and a crew member with either exceptional spatial awareness or a very patient personality. The end result on screen looks effortless because the effort was entirely hidden. Number 6. The Wormwood House, Crunchum Hall, Miss Honey's cottage, the library Matilda walks to as a 4-year-old, all of it looks like a small English village. All of it was filmed in California. The Wormwood family home exterior was a house on Youngwood Drive in Whittier. The library Matilda visits is the Pasadena Public Library on East Walnut Street. Miss Trunchbull's house was the Crank House in Altadena. The school was built on the Sony Pictures Studios lot in Culver City. The production design team dressed each California location carefully enough that most audiences watching the film assume they're somewhere in England, which was the book's original setting. The shift to an American suburb was a deliberate creative decision by DeVito, who felt grounding the story in a recognizable American neighborhood rather than an English one would make it more immediate for the film's primary audience. It worked completely. The world of the film feels entirely consistent, and almost nobody notices that the England of Matilda is actually Los Angeles with better hedges. Number 5. In Roald Dahl's original novel, the story ends with Matilda losing her telekinetic powers. The explanation given is that once she is moved into Miss Honey's advanced class, where her intelligence is finally being properly challenged, the mental energy that had been building up and expressing itself as telekinesis simply disappears. There's no longer a need for it. It's a bittersweet ending that treats the powers as a symptom of being misunderstood rather than a permanent gift. DeVito changed this for the film. In his version, Matilda keeps her powers at the end, using them joyfully with Miss Honey. It's a warmer conclusion, one that rewards the character completely rather than taking something away in the final act. The change was a significant creative departure from the source material, and Dahl approved it. The two endings reflect two genuinely different philosophies about what the story is trying to say. Dahl's ending is about finding your place, making you whole. DeVito's ending is simply about Matilda finally being free with everything she has. Number 4. Nobody on set ever referred to Matilda's telekinesis as telekinesis. The word was too clinical, too distant from the playful energy of the film they were making. Instead, DeVito came up with a working term that the entire cast and crew used throughout production: the whammy. When a scene required Matilda to move an object with her mind, DeVito would turn to Mara Wilson and tell her simply to whammy the chair, or whammy the glass, and Wilson knew exactly what to do with her performance. Wilson revealed this in an interview for the film's 20th anniversary, and the detail is more significant than it sounds. The whammy gave a very young actress a concrete, specific instruction she could act toward rather than an abstract concept she'd have to translate. It also kept the tone playful on set, which was exactly the right energy for a film where the magic needed to feel like it belonged to a child rather than to a special effects department. The word never appears in the film. It shaped almost every scene that does. Number 3. Miss Honey's precious childhood doll, the one Trunchbull keeps locked inside a glass cabinet in her house, as another act of deliberate cruelty, is called Lixie Doll in the film. Most viewers hear the name and move past it. It is a direct tribute to Roald Dahl's widow, Felicity Dahl, whose nickname was Lixie, the same woman who had nearly blocked the entire film from being made and who eventually approved Robin Sweekhord's screenplay after months of negotiation. The detail is layered in a way that rewards attention. Miss Honey's doll, the one object that connects her to her childhood and to the father she lost, is named after the real woman who stood as guardian over Roald Dahl's legacy after his death. Lixie Doll protected Dahl's stories the way Miss Honey protects the memory of her father. The naming was intentional, the connection is real, and it sits quietly in the background of one of the film's most emotionally charged scenes without a single line of dialogue explaining it. Number 2. During production, Mara Wilson's mother, Susie, was diagnosed with breast cancer. She was receiving treatment throughout the shoot, and Wilson, who was 7 years old, was aware something was seriously wrong, but shielded from the full reality of her mother's condition. DeVito and Rhea Perlman, who played her screen parents, became her actual support system during that period. Wilson has spoken about how they would take her to their home, keep her entertained, and made sure she never felt alone while her father was working and her mother was in hospital. Susie Wilson died on the 27th of April 1996, 4 months before the film released. Wilson had been terrified that her mother would never see the finished film. When DeVito found out, he arranged to have the rough cut of what they had filmed brought to her mother's hospital bed. Susie Wilson watched her daughter's performance before she died. DeVito only revealed this years later, long after the film had already been released and dedicated to her memory. It is the kindest thing anyone did on that entire production, and almost nobody knew about it for a decade. Number 1. Matilda opened on the 2nd of August 1996 and finished its opening weekend in 3rd place behind A Time to Kill and Independence Day with $8.5 million. On a production budget of $36 million, the film earned $47 million worldwide by the end of its theatrical run. By Hollywood's mathematics, that was a disappointment. Critics liked it. Audiences gave it a B+ on CinemaScore, but the numbers weren't there, and the studio moved on. Then, something happened that no studio can plan for. The VHS release connected with children in a way the theatrical run never had the chance to. The film was watched, rewatched, worn out, and passed between siblings and classmates across the late 90s and into the 2000s. An entire generation absorbed it not as a cinema event, but as a home experience, something personal and repeated and deeply felt. The Little Bitty Pretty One dance became a TikTok trend 30 years later. A stage musical adaptation became a global phenomenon, and the film that couldn't crack $33 million at the domestic box office is now considered one of the most beloved children's films ever made. Some films find their audience in the cinema. Matilda found hers in living rooms, on rainy afternoons, in the homes of children who needed her most.
Pretty good, huh?
And that is 15 insane facts about Matilda you never knew. If this made you want to pull it up and watch it again tonight, do it. Hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below. What is your strongest memory of this film? See you in the next one.